Welcome to Bayou Time. I'm Jacob DeGate, and I'm sitting here with Trooper Ross Brennan. Good to have you back on the show. All right. Of course, we had, unfortunately, had a fatal crash last week. If you can give us a little update about that, and as well as some tips to help avoid situations
Yeah.
like that.
So like you said, unfortunately, on May 16th, we did have a fatal crash. We worked on Grand Caillou Road near the Ashland subdivision. 37-year-old male, he was traveling north on Grand Caillou Road. When reasons still under investigation, he crossed the center line while in the curve, ran off the roadway, struck a utility pole, overturned his vehicle, and was actually ejected from the vehicle. He was not restrained at the time of the crash, and he did die from his injuries at the scene.
Of course, I guess the first and easy thing to point out is the lack of a seatbelt right there. That's one thing that you can always do to hopefully prevent situations like that.
You know, we get on here every day and we talk about, or every time on HTV, and we talk about, what somebody can do, like not drive impaired, not drive reckless. But a question somebody brought up is, what do I do when another driver, let's say, they cross center line and they're coming head on at me? What do I do as a driver to avoid that situation? Really, you want to be a defensive driver. Whenever you're driving down the roadway, you want to, I guess, expect other people to make mistakes on the road. But in the case of somebody coming into your lane, really there's three things that you can do. You can call the 4 R's. The first one is you want to read the roadway. Basically, as you're driving, be looking out ahead on the road, look for potential hazards. Maybe it might be traffic coming to a stop up ahead. It might be something on the road that they're swerving to miss. It might be a yellow light that's up at the intersection ahead. The yellow light's probably going to turn to red soon, so you should start thinking about maybe coming to a stop. If you're looking for potential hazards, you can react to them faster. A lot of things, too, that can kind of take away from you reading the roadway is distractions inside the vehicle. So whether that's the cell phone, other people in the vehicle, the radio, that can reduce those reaction times. And so that's the first R. The second R really be to reduce your speed. Whenever somebody is going over that speed limit, of course, they're traveling at a higher rate of speed. They're crossing more distance in a shorter amount of time. So if there is a hazard that pops up in front of them, it's going to take them longer to stop, longer to react to it, and then their reaction window is going to be a lot smaller because they're going, again, that faster distance in a shorter amount of time. So those speed limits are in place for a reason. It's because they designed that roadway for those speeds. And so whenever you go above that, you reduce those reaction times and your chances to avoid a collision if a vehicle is coming head on at you. This third R is guide to the right. And what do we mean by that is it might be your initial reaction, cars coming into your lane. You're going to want to swerve to the left into the other lane of traffic. But the problem is, let's say that driver realizes what they're doing, that they're crossing into your lane, and then they swerve back to your lane, or their lane, sorry. Now you can potentially have a collision. So whenever somebody is coming into your lane, it's always best to steer towards the right. Basically, one zigs, one zags, you might be able to avoid a collision. But when you both go towards that same direction, that's when you can have a collision that way. So again, I know it's probably first instinct, you want to swerve to the left to avoid that person, but it is always best just to go towards that right in case that driver does self-correct and they get back into their lane. And the fourth R is ride off the road. So let's say you look for a potential hazard, you see a vehicle coming at you, you reduce your speed, you steer towards the right side of the roadway, and that driver is still coming at you. If you have to get off the roadway, whether it's driving off into the grass, driving off into the ditch, whatever that might be, right? Kind of use that as a last resort to avoid those collisions. It might be better to take it and collide into a ditch or something a lot softer than a head-on collision with another vehicle. So that's kind of some good tips whenever you got somebody who might possibly be coming into your lane to prevent a head-on crash. Just remember those 4 R's. Again, reduce those speeds, look out for road hazards, guide to the right, and also, if you have to, get off the roadway into a side area.
Okay. In another, I guess, area you see people where they can get in trouble is when they overcorrect and then try to correct too far back. That's another situation that I guess you'd want to look out for as well.
We do see that a lot. A lot of times whenever people, they run off the roadway, they kind of panic. A lot of times you see this whenever somebody's, again, distracted driving, not paying attention. They start to drift off the roadway. They hit that shoulder, and so they want to jerk back to the roadway. The problem is it can cause their car to spin out. Those types of crashes are caused by driver error because if they would have just made that slow maneuver back onto the roadway, they wouldn't have been able to safely get back onto the main highway. But that sharp jerkiness of the wheel can cause the vehicle to be upset, throw off its balance, and cause it to spin out. Same thing whenever somebody hydroplanes. Whenever they start to spin out in the rain, their first instinct might be to slam on the brakes, but you wouldn't want to do that also because you can cause that vehicle to spin out because now you're causing it to lose even more traction, possibly.
Yeah, the sudden, it's tough to control because they are quick instincts, but
Yeah.
it's something that I guess you just need to think about when you're
Yeah.
driving.
The main thing is don't panic. Whenever you get in those situations, and again, I understand it's a lot easier said than done, especially if it's an unfamiliar situation. But try not to panic and, again, try to jerk that wheel or slam on those brakes in those situations to potentially avoid that vehicle from losing control and spinning out.
Another thing you have a lot of times in this area with the wildlife and everything, you have animals that may
Yeah.
come into the road, and that's another thing that can cause a quick jerk or something to cause you to lose control as
Yeah.
well.
And again, it goes back to observing potential hazards. I understand an animal can come out quickly, but if you're out looking ahead of the road, you might see a deer that might be in that wood line along the side of the roadway or whatever it might be. So by reducing that speed a little bit and looking out ahead for potential hazards, you might be able to react to something that suddenly occurs in front of you and hopefully avoid some of these crashes from occurring.
Yeah, some of those deers, they may be looking like they know what's going on right off to the side of the road, but then they just decide to start walking for no reason. And
Unfortunately,
they
a
can
wild
come
animal.
up on you on quick. So,
Yep.
well, we thank you for coming on again, and thank you for trying to keep everybody safe out
No,
there.
thank you, Al.
Okay, stay tuned for more right here on HTV.